Hi, everybody. We are live. Welcome to CUB Live. Today's topic is going solar with Switch Together. Our special guest is CUB's Solar Education Manager, Marina Minnick. Welcome, Marina.
Thank you, Jim.
It's great to see you. So, since you were last on the show, I think was Earth Day. We were talking about great content, great pop culture content to inspire you on Earth Day. But since then, you've had a switch in your title. You are now the Solar Education Manager. So, tell us what does the Solar Education Manager do at CUB?
Yeah, I would say I do all things solar with the help of many people at CUB. So one thing is education. That's a big part of my job. So going to different events across the state and giving presentations about the basics and benefits of solar so that consumers can learn how to do it if they would like. So this is rooftop solar and something called community solar. I also work a lot on the state's income eligible solar incentive program called Solar for All. So that's been a lot of fun. And I also help out with our consumer advocacy department on solar related calls that come through our hotline. So that's always an exciting challenge to try to answer people's solar questions on the spot.
It is amazing. That's the best source of our information is consumers calling in or hooking us at events and asking questions, tough questions. They always have tough questions. So it keeps us on our toes. So we're going to talk about Solar Switch, which is this great program that CUB has promoted for a couple years now. It's had a couple different names, but it's called Switch Together right now. And why is CUB a consumer advocate promoting this Solar Switch program?
Yeah, again, and I know the name changed. So it was Solar Switch, now it's Switch Together to encompass further or future potential projects. But Switch Together is essentially a group buy program that makes it easier and I would say safer or more secure to go solar. So I think a lot of the questions we get at CUB are related to how to find a reputable solar installer. And it's been really nice to have this program to point people to where they can, either go through the program or at the very least use it as one of their quotes when looking to go solar. And again, can kind of provide a safer way to go through the process with a pre-selected or competitively selected installer.
Thank you. And I did call it Solar Switch, didn't I?
It's confusing.
My apologies, everyone. It is Switch Together, Switch Together. So you had a great quote in this blog that we wrote. You said the Switch Together program fits well into CUB's consumer advocacy mission because it delivers trustworthy information about solar power without annoying high-pressure sales tactics. Is that an element of that you've heard from consumers? Have you heard complaints about annoying high-pressure sales tactics?
I definitely have, and I think even worse is usually when I get complaints from consumers, maybe they've signed up for something they didn't quite realize they were signing up for or signed up for a bad solar lease deal or something. It was usually from a door-to-door salesperson. Maybe they had never even considered going solar, but someone came to their door that day and, these are suave salespeople, so kind of talk them into doing it. And that's when they call me with a complaint. So definitely something I like about this program is there's plenty of education up front before, deciding to go solar.
That's right. So if in the end you get involved in the program, you're interested, you're dipping your toe in going solar, and in the end you decide, well, not this year, not for me, you still get educated about solar power and its benefits. So that is a really great thing. So what would you say are the benefits, in addition to the education, in addition to it's a relatively soft sell, it's not a high pressure sales tactic, what are the benefits of a program like Switch Together?
Yeah, definitely. So again, the education and the consumer protections involved is really huge. And then the nice thing about a group buy program is they're typically also created in order to pass on savings to program participants. So with Solar Switch, or geez, Switch Together, how I'm doing it, with Switch Together, we're usually able to secure around a 10 to 15% discount compared to the market rate for solar. So when going through the program, you're essentially able to get a better deal on the installation than you would maybe outside of the program. And there are two main reasons for this. First, we've been doing this program for a while, so we're kind of able to let participating installers know about how many customers they're going to get, which helps them buy more in bulk, and that saves them money, which then they pass on to consumers. And another thing is we're handing over these warm leads, I guess you could call it. So people who are already educated about solar and interested about solar. So they're able to save some costs on marketing, which again, they can pass on to consumers going solar through the program.
Yeah.
So savings is a big one, which I know we love at CUB.
Yes. So 10 to 15%, that could be thousands of dollars off your solar installation, right?
Yes.
And then beyond that, you go into you can cut your electric bill by potentially hundreds of dollars a month, or hundreds of dollars a year, maybe would be better to say. With a solar installation, you can actually cut your electricity costs going forward.
Definitely. And I think that's, again, why CUB really likes this program, is because solar is actually a great tool for monthly electric bill savings that maybe you wouldn't think of initially, but can definitely, save you a lot of money over the course of a lifetime, which panels are usually warranted for 25 years and can last longer than that. So it can bring benefits to your household for a long time.
Right. And of course, working with a company this is a unique partnership. It's a couple nonprofits. It's CUB, it's the Midwest Renewable Energy Association, it's county governments in the area, and it's this iChooser, which is a for-profit company, which the benefit of that is that they can reach a lot more people. I mean, before the partnership with iChooser, you were doing a lot of the education programs by doing in-person meetings across Northern Illinois. How many solar power hours did you do that one summer? It was a couple summers ago.
Yeah, a couple summers. I think it was close. It was 40 or 50 events throughout the summer in Northern Illinois. So, and that's me, giving these presentations, and then I would have a clipboard that people could sign up if they were interested for more information. So it was all very manual to get people up to speed on the program and on solar. So now with the partnership with iChooser, we've been able to expand our reach, and we have a really kind of sweet digital platform. It's all a bit more streamlined, I would say, which
automated and streamlined. It makes it a lot easier, and yet you still have that consumer advocacy perspective. You got MREA involved, you've got CUB involved, and that's really, really strong and good for the program. So it's a win-win, and it's a win-win-win because it's a win for CUB, it's a win for the other groups in this, but it's also a win for consumers who take part in this. So tell me a little bit about this. Sometimes I hear grumbling from people. This is not something that is a statewide program. Who is eligible for this program?
Yes. So residents of, let me list off the counties, Cook, Kane, DuPage, Lake, Will, McHenry, and Kendall counties. So if you fall in that region, you are able to go solar through the program. And the program is officially sponsored by Cook, Kane, DuPage, and Lake counties. So they're doing a lot of that promotional work for us as well, which is great. I do think in the next couple of years, we will probably have a program in Rockford area, maybe East St. Louis area. And we've had them on and off in the Urbana-Champaign area as well. So always something to check on, but definitely we've got the Northern Illinois program pretty solid.
Right. It's for Northern Illinois now, but where the desire is there to try to make this a statewide program, it would be great, to offer it. And like you said, I remember a couple of years ago, it was in the Champaign area, and it would be great to go to Rockford and Metro East. So still working on it. There's always more to do, and we definitely want to get there. So if people are interested in moving forward on this, what would you recommend to them?
Yeah, definitely. So the website I mentioned before is solarswitch.com.
Oh,
Switch, actually, that would still work, but switchtogether.com/Chicagoland. So you could go to that website, and just to kind of plug some resources on there, we actually do have, let me look at it, under How Does It Work tab, we have a bunch of different informational pages about like different incentives, about the net metering, about the income eligible program, Solar for All. So if you want to do some reading before registering, you can do so. And under the questions tab, there's webinars and events. So we do have kind of an evergreen webinar on the website. That's, I think, about 40 minutes of Solar 101. And so that's definitely a nice thing to watch as well. But on the main page of the website, there's a register today button. So you can click that and go through the registration process. So it's pretty easy. The process is really, it's kind of a short questionnaire. It's trying to figure out some information about your home. So like how large is your home? Is your roof shaded or does it get good sun? How old is your roof? Things like that. And then we're also trying to figure out your average electricity usage. So these two things really help the site give you a preliminary proposal on how large we think the solar system you need will be and how much that will cost. So yeah, Jim, do you want me to just go through the steps?
Yeah, let's talk about how the program works. I think it's fascinating how this all works. So please.
Yeah, so once you fill out that registration, you will get what we call a personal offer. So again, that's how large the system we think will be and how much it will cost. And it will also tell you who your installer would be. So basically, before all of this even occurs, we are working to competitively select installers to be part of the program. So they kind of go through a pre-vetting process where, we're looking at kind of their financial standing, we're looking at their history. We're only working with installers that offer high quality workmanship and great customer service. So once these companies kind of pass that first level of vetting, they're then able to bid an offer. So this is what their pricing would look like. And we kind of go through this reverse auction process where we then settle on a base program price. So that basically means that no matter where you are in the program territory or no matter which installer you're assigned to, you'll be paying the same as anyone else in the region through the program. So everyone's offering the same low and discounted price, right? So once you get your personal offer and you see what the system may cost you or may look like, you can then accept or decline that offer. If you accept it, we do ask you to pay a $150 deposit. This is a small barrier we put in place just to kind of make sure we're only getting serious inquiries. That again saves money and time on the installer's end, which can then be passed on to the customers. If you do pay that deposit and then start chatting with your installer and they're like, hey, your roof is totally shaded by trees or something, you would then get that deposit back.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do pay it, you get put in contact with your installer. They'll design your system, give you an updated proposal, and if you like that, you go forward and get your system installed.
Yeah, people are so hungry for options, clean energy options. People they buy into, they believe that clean energy helps cut utility bills. That's part of CUB's mission, is educating people about it. And do you find that people are really looking for a program like this?
I do. I think when I'm, first chatting with people about solar, I'm telling them, oh, there's this directory you can look at, or this or that, different smart shopping tips. And then at the end, I'll say, by the way, CUB also has this group buy program you could look into. And they're always like, thank goodness, like I'm just going to do that. So I think it is a really overwhelming space to navigate on your own. And I think that this is a really nice way to simplify the process. And again, it makes people feel a bit more secure in their decision when it's a program backed by consumer advocates.
Yeah, I know that, the kind of person you draw is a homeowner who is looking for a plan. And that can be really, like you said, it can be very stressful. It can be like, it's going to, that's an investment. You got to make sure it's a good investment. And I think that part of the value of this program is just the stress relief. It gives people a plan to connect to a vetted installer. And I just think that's like gold in any market. Is just information is always just so important for consumers, so that's good. I mean, you look at on the other side of this, you see alternative energy, electricity suppliers, totally separate thing this is, but you see that the help some people go through when they sign up for what they think is a good deal, and it's because they don't have good information. They weren't given good information. And what's great about this program, again, which is totally different, it's about solar, but you're leading. It's probably too strong to say you're leading them by the hand, because you're not doing that, but you're a partner with them in this process. And I think that just makes people feel, good to have, that kind of guidance, and to know, that this is a program that's going to connect you to a vetted installer. So that's really great. I really appreciate all the work you're doing, Marina. I remember that summer I was at I dropped by the Evanston Public Library. It was like 7:00 at night, and it was your last solar power hour of the summer. And it was like, I could not believe when I heard how many you had done. It was dozens and dozens, and you still had a smile on your face. So you are very passionate about solar power. What made you? How long have you been passionate? Is this something that you developed in college or before? Or
yeah, I think definitely during college. I was in a student organization called, it was Campus Leaders for Energy Action Now, which spelled clean. And I think they just wanted to come up with an acronym that spelled clean. But we were doing a lot of work pushing the university to transition to renewable energy. So that's definitely something that I was passionate about. It wasn't until CUB that I kind of gained the consumer protection lens. It's not really something I had thought about before, but again, it was cool to discover that solar is also, such a great tool for like monthly energy savings, resiliency. So
yeah,
it's been good to discover that.
That's great. So I have a few more questions before we get done. Let's make sure that everybody knows that website. And Elizabeth, I'm sure you're doing this, but I had some links at the bottom of the email. If you could just make sure to put in the link to our blog in the chat, as well as the link to our to the actual Solar Switch website, and that the actual Switch Together website, which again is switchtogether.com/Chicagoland, right?
Yes.
It is switchtogether.com/Chicagoland. And thank you, Elizabeth, for putting that, for working behind the scenes today and putting that good information in the chat. So let's talk about a couple other things in terms of helpful information that we have for people. Is the IPA and the Illinois Shines have put out some new fact sheets, or they're putting out a line of fact sheets to help consumers through the solar process. Can you talk a little bit about what Illinois Shines does, and this new fact sheet, green and red flags, selecting a solar company, green and red flags?
Yeah, definitely. So Illinois Shines is essentially the state's solar incentive program. So they have ways to incentivize development of solar on the residential level, commercial, community solar, and they're essentially giving people a way to sell their renewable energy credits up front and kind of get paid earlier and at a higher value than you would on a voluntary market. So basically, yeah, they want to count our solar production towards Illinois' goal. So we get paid to do that, which is nice. And that's one really huge incentive when thinking about going solar. Usually the Illinois Shines incentive for residential systems can cover around 30% of the total project cost. So Illinois Shines is great. They're offering that incentive. They are also the ones keeping track of all of the installers or approved vendors working within the program. So if a company does have too many strikes against them, they could be removed from Illinois Shines. So generally, if we have statewide people watching or people who cannot do the group buy, if you ever mention Illinois Shines to a solar installer and they don't know what you're talking about, I always say run for the hills. That's a red flag. And speaking of red flags, so as Jim mentioned, Illinois Shines is coming out with it's called a homeowner handout series, I believe. So again, they're trying to develop some really specific educational resources for people looking to go solar. And the first one they came out with is green and red flags. So it's kind of a series of tips and tricks or things to watch out for when looking into an installer. That's kind of what the first page focuses on.
Yeah.
And then the back side of the handout really focuses on the consumer protections in place through Illinois Shines and what to do if you do have a complaint, which again, if you have issues with an installer or any complaints, it's good to go to Illinois Shines to file that complaint and they can help you come to a resolution. So that's the first handout. And I believe the next two are going to be, one's going to be focused on buying and selling homes with solar panels on them, I believe, and the other one is going to be about like loans and financing when it comes to solar. And I'm really excited about that one because there are definitely a lot of different options when it comes to financing your system.
Great. And like I said, we'll make sure to put those in the chat, to put that fact sheet again. It's selecting a solar company, green and red flags. I was so struck by just what a great fact sheet. Very simple. It's pleasing to the eye, but very simple to read. And it just gives you the information you need. It's the kind of thing we're talking about. What's so great about the Switch Together program, it gives people good information. And that's what this is about also, is giving people statewide good information about selecting a solar company. Also, speaking of good information, we also have CUB has an introduction to rooftop solar fact sheet, which gives people good information. We'll also make sure that that's in the chat. Speaking of current events and good information, is we should share. This is not great news, but we were talking before the show here that there's been some breaking news in terms of the 30% federal solar tax credit. And Marina, please fill in anything I miss here. But basically, the news right now is the House Ways and Means Committee is considering significantly accelerating the phase out of the residential solar tax credits, potentially setting the expiration date for the end of the year, December 31st, 2025. We put out an email recently where we said to people that we know that that the energy efficiency credits and tax credits, all these great incentives that were part of the Inflation Reduction Act, that they're going to be in place at least until the end of the year. So people should take advantage of them. Do you have anything more you want to add, telling people, because I'm sure you're getting questions out in the field about what's going on in Washington and how's that going to affect these tax credits?
Yes, I think it's unavoidable. My number one question at recent solar events. So yeah, again, there's potential if this passes. I believe I don't know, there's still a long process to go for this to be passed, but if it does, it would phase out the tax credit at the end of the year. So we believe that means if you go solar before the end of the year, you should be able to take advantage of that tax credit in April for the 2025 tax session, season. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I know we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on this, and we will be notifying you all through either email blasts or blog posts. So again, another reason to stay tuned in with CUB. We're definitely going to be keeping an eye, but I would say, at this moment, the federal tax credit is kind of in flux, but again, I mentioned we do have the state incentive that is very strong, here to stay, not affected by anything going on in Washington, which is good. And you're
talking about the solar renewable energy credits, correct?
Yeah, yep, through Illinois Shine. So those are good and here to stay, which is good news.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not, any type of program that helps people cut their utility bills is a good use, is a good investment. So it's just, terrible policy to get rid of these, especially getting rid of these with seemingly no phase out. So definitely, folks, it's hard to keep on top of these things. A lot's been happening, but we are going to be sending out emails throughout, the next couple of months, next couple of weeks, and next couple of months, giving people updates on what's going on and giving them a chance to take action. We've already sent out an action item about the energy efficiency and solar credits in general, and we'll continue to do that. It is important for people to keep letting their voice be heard at the state level and in Washington. But that's one good thing that we have in Illinois is that, partly through CUB's work and other consumer advocacy groups, that we have very strong energy policy, and things like the Future Energy Jobs Act, the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act have put some solid incentives in place, and we're going to do everything we can to improve those on the state level and to protect the federal credits in Washington. So, is there anything else? We've talked about Switch Together. We've talked about current events with the tax credit. We've talked about some good information that people can get on our website at citizensutilityboard.org. Maybe just can we talk a few minutes about solarinthecommunity.com and how that can be a helpful resource?
Definitely. That's what I was going to go for is CUB has all kinds of resources on our website. And one of them, as Jim just said, is solarinthecommunity.com. You can either get to it with that webpage or it's under our resources tab of our website. And this is a great resource if you are looking to learn about or get involved with community solar. So community solar is a program that's really geared toward people who cannot or would rather not put panels on their roof. So if you're a renter, you can do community solar. Condo owner, if you have a shaded roof, even if maybe you weren't able to get a solar system that's big enough to cover your needs, you could supplement that with community solar. And essentially how it works is there are lots of developers in Illinois building solar farms around the state. So these are just pretty large solar systems, right? They're either located on top of commercial buildings or on unused farmland, things like that. And as a consumer or as a utility customer, you are able to subscribe to a small portion of that large community solar farm. So rather than putting your dollar toward your utility for that power, you'd be paying the community solar farm instead. And all of them currently have discounts. So either like ranging from 10 to 20% discount on the utility supply rate. It can even be higher than that. There are certain income eligible farms as well. So really great, but can also be a little overwhelming because there are a lot of companies. So that's one thing I like about Solar in the Community is we have lots of information on, again, what is community solar, but we also have information on current deals in the state. So we list all of those companies out, and we have a comparison chart that lists the deals side by side, which makes it really easy to figure out which farm works best for you.
Yeah, I really love that site. I mean, that wouldn't have come in, that you were a huge part of that, of helping it to build that. And just thank you for it. And you and Grace and other people on the outreach team do such a good job of giving us new information to update it. And Elizabeth has done a wonderful job, updating. It's not easy to do that, but it's really great to give people that resource. And I've heard so many people speak positively of that. Again, part of consumer advocacy, the big part is just making sure people have good information. I guarantee you when people get lured into bad deals or get, ripped off, and it's because they don't have good information and they haven't been given good information. So important. So thank you for telling people about community solar. And again, that resource is solarinthecommunity.com. But as Marina said, you can go to citizensutilityboard.org and go under our clean energy resources, and you can see that. So anything else?
I think we covered it. Definitely, yeah. If you're interested in going solar, check out switchtogether.com/Chicagoland. Feel free to get other quotes, and you can really compare between them. And I think you'll find that it's a pretty good deal. Otherwise, community solar, and also on our website, you can find information about, again, Illinois Solar for All, which is the state's income eligible solar program. So we've got it all on the website. I think you could find the path that works best for you.
Is there, before we say goodbye, is there any deadline as to when people should sign up for Switch Together?
Yes, Switch Together has a deadline of June 25th. So that's when you would need to complete that registration process and accept your offer. But we will have another cohort running kind of August through October. So if you miss this one, you'll have another chance later in the summer.
Great. So June 25th for this current program, but we'll have another one in August. So thank you so much, Marina, for all your work. You do just wonderful work and you give people wonderful information. Really appreciate it. And for everybody who tuned in today, thank you so much. Again, you've been watching CUB Live. We've been talking about going solar with the Switch Together program. I wish everybody a wonderful day. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.